meet the ancient mini-metal versions of the Daemon Primarchs that I never knew existed until now. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where I just wanted to share some fun models that I'd seen with you, that might just possibly be a bit more relevant than they were before. Now we're seeing Daemon Primarchs return at full scale to Warhammer 40k. I'm sure that plenty of older hobbyists might recognise these, but the fact that these mini-metal versions of the Daemon Primarchs existed at one point I found really quite cool. Basically these are little metal miniatures of them from 40k's epic version. The really tiny miniature scale of 40k, where standard foot troops were the size of around about 1/4 of an inch. I thought we'd just take a look through, compare Magnus and Mortarion to their current day versions, and see if there's any clues that we could draw from Fulgrim or Angron. So first up we have Mr. Lord of Plagues himself, Mortarion, who's kept a couple of things from his epic version, but there's a fair few differences as well. In his mini version he looks kind of gaunt and thin, and completely covered in that purple robe of his, looking a lot more like a Grim Reaper than his big fancy plastic version. He still does have that robe though, it's just a fair bit more tattered, doesn't go over his power armour, and like much of the Death Guard models, he's a lot more chunky and filled out. They are kind of known for being bloated and ridiculously hard to kill. His scythe of course remains the same, but his wings are a fair bit different on the plastic miniature. They went for kind of like Deathly Angel wings on the epic one, and the plastic one went for some great big membranous fly-like wings. Certainly seems like a better choice for the Death Guard, and kind of helps to cement him as a bringer of disease and despair. I did find Magnus the Red's little epic version really quite funny. His old version seems more in keeping with a space dwarf of Tzeentch than a full-on Daemon Primarch who we're supposed to be scared of. I do quite like the way that with this early miniature, that despite both he and Magnus having red hair, the current version of Daemon Primarch Magnus also has red skin as well, which maybe outshines his hairdo a bit. The old miniature seems a lot more like Magnus the Blue to me, never mind Magnus the Red. Otherwise, I think it's probably for the best that they made the staff of Magnus a little bit less lollipop-like, something that you might not want to get hit by, as well as presumably something for casting lightning bolts and things. The avian Tzeentch-like wings seem to be one of the only aspects that the miniatures agree on. Certainly makes sense with Tzeentch's affinity for birds and the Lord of Change looking that way. And the current miniature, maybe in an effort to make him look more ornate, goes a lot further in terms of fancy silver armour and great big horns, though the ones that are coming out of his upper chest area were certainly seen as a questionable decision by many. Probably best not to be known as having the horniest nipples in the galaxy if you're not even a Slaanesh demon. Next up we have Fulgrim, who of course has no current 40k miniature for him, but has widely been reported in the lore to be transfigured into a great big serpentine snake being. As well as the sinister snaky coils, the mini version of Fulgrim also seems to have acquired some extra arms, so he can wield 3 different blades at once, and I believe that looks like it might be a cane in his other hand, though it is kind of hard to see with the resolution of the photo. Whenever we do get a new model for Fulgrim, I suspect it will look something similar to this, probably with a bit more bulk and menace added to him, and maybe changing up the colour palette a bit more just to be a bit more in keeping with the Emperor's Children Legion. Much like Magnus, he's looking a lot more blue here than I might expect. I could easily see them keeping the extra arms and many bladed attacks though. Would seem very fitting for a Daemon Primarch of Slaanesh to be attacking with a flurry of many blades. Finally for the mini Primarchs we come to Angron, who I must admit out of these little minifigures maybe isn't the most interesting of models. If I'd had to guess what he was with no prior knowledge of what the model was, I might have guessed an early Bloodletter or something. To be honest, for a great big Daemon Primarch of Khorne, I suspect that most of his design features would be the same as well. Lightly wings, a nice snarling bestial head, though I suspect he might be wearing a fair bit more brass-coated armour than this guy is. I thought it was kind of interesting that he was armed with a sword in this one as well, as opposed to with an axe. Both in artwork and in Forge World's model of him, he is armed with an axe, and I'd be pretty surprised if we did ever see a model of him if he wasn't wielding a great chain-toothed axe. So anyway, I hope you found some of those as interesting as I did. I genuinely hadn't realised that Games Workshop had released Daemon Primarchs before in any form, even if it was just a tiny model for Epic Armageddon. Let me know your thoughts on them and the design choices down in the comments below. I'll certainly look forward to having a read of your thoughts and ideas. If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. I typically do more 40k in-game tactics discussions, but it is nice to branch out every so often. Finally, if you have been enjoying the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics has a Patreon link down in the video description below. If you have been enjoying regularly, any support is enormously appreciated, and it does keep the videos coming. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next for the channel, and automatic entry to the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits every month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support the channel, then the link is down in the video description below. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.